Hey guys, welcome back to Cincy Diesel Repair. Tim just dropped off his truck. He watches the channel. It's a 03 6.0 with a concern of lack of power. Seems like he's not getting boost or something. I'm still working on this one. The part 2 video's coming. I'm waiting on something for that. But while we're doing that, let's go ahead and diag this truck. It's a clean 03. Typical Ohio rust, you know, nothing you can do about that. But nice truck. Looks like it was well cared for. I mean, 03s aren't new anymore. So let's do our first. Now here's the problem. So he starts it up at his house, about 25 miles away, drives it here, pulls it in the driveway right here. We discuss the issue. He hops in his son's car, gets ready to leave. I'm gonna pull it up here, won't start. Crank no start. Kind of like what this one did. So we're gonna get there in a second, but let's get an initial overview here. It is an 03 truck, so we got some different stuff going on here. He did say he changed the turbocharger on it. On 03s, if you change the turbo, you have to relearn the VGTs. Looks like it's got, I see a clip there, so it's got a new electronic fan clutch on it. New degas bottle. We heard some whistling coming from there when he pulled in, but I think that cap might not have been tight or sealing right. Looks like a Fickum right there, which are, if you notice, mounted a little different on the 03s. Let me get up here. Oh. Okay. So obviously the boost tubes are a little oil soaked. You know, he watched a lot of my videos, and so he checked a lot of stuff that, so I don't know if I am hearing a weird noise, so I don't know if it's got a cracked billow, but he said he kind of tried to look at that. Everything else on it, sorry, I'm not even focused, everything else looks pretty well stock. What do I do with my light? I don't know. Anyway, I'll show you some of the differences in a minute. Let's go in the truck. So I really like the interior. I don't know if that's original. I like that. I got the laptop in here. We're going to try to do it with the scan gauge too first, just to see. But here's the other thing I didn't mention. We got, what was it? 376,000 miles on it. Pretty impressive for a 03 6-liter. You know what? I didn't see if the engine was original, which sometimes you can't tell, because if they buy a short block, what's that tag say? If they buy a short block, they're going to reuse this valve cover. I always show the valve cover, but 03. And just to look, I'm gonna say that's probably the original motor. It's a good deal there. Oh, you know what? Let me check the oil real quick. Hold on. Okay, nice clean oil. Filled to the right level, doesn't smell fuel diluted or anything like that. So let's see if this thing's gonna, oh boy, sorry. Let's see if we can get this thing to start now. Let's try starting without the computer one time. No, and you know what? I should be getting some RPM, but I'm not. And you can see it's still up to temp. But look at my low my base oil. Oh, there it went. Okay. And it sounds... It sounds pretty good. I hear a little bit of a weird noise. I don't know what it is yet. Let me get the computers hooked up, see if we got anything that makes sense. And I also want to see just what's going on. It's still got a weird crank, so let's see what's going on. Okay, so the old scan gauge is still acting up on me, but I like showing you guys this. So let's key off, key on. So we got good Fickham power, ICP voltage, IPR regulator. So let's go ahead and crank it. Let's make sure we're getting sync because the tach's not moving. There's sync. We're not getting enough ICP. And look at the IPR, 84.7. So there you go. There's your cranking issue. We got a high pressure oil leak. 4, we need 5. 4, come on. You can do it. I actually need to get this pulled up. Alright, let's give it a minute. So this is going to turn into another air test here. Oh, of course. 400. Man, it's trying. Alright, let's not burn up the starter. So in this case, I'm gonna guess, are we still getting base oil pressure? Yeah, we have to be, because we're getting almost 400 down there. Yeah. If that gauge doesn't move, you've seen that in another video, that's a big problem. So now we know we got a high pressure oil leak somewhere, which could be the reason he's seeing low power. So I'm going to get it started. Best way to do that is let it cool off. When it cools off, the oil will get a little bit thicker and it'll fire up. Unless we got an IPR valve sticking, but we'll determine that. Now, I talked about, oh, here, the hood's still popped on this one. So on mid 04s and up, they moved, oh, okay. They moved the ICP sensor here. Easy to get to, plug everything in. On the old 03s, there's several things that are different and a little more difficult to work on, but I'm not gonna be able to see it. I'm not gonna be able to see it till I get a light, but the ICP sensor's back there. So we're gonna have to take some stuff apart to get to it. But first, I'm gonna get it fired up and get it moved out of the middle of the driveway here. And then we'll go from there. Alright, so I got it started. Using Auto Ingenuity today. I think it's easier for you guys to see. So in my codes, this is every system. I got airbag, battery voltage low, left front door switch. That could be anything. We're not worried about that right now. EGR, recirculation flow insufficient. I know why. Same EGR, I know why. These are the two I'm worried about. Turbocharger, supercharger, boost, control A performance. We're not getting enough boost. It knows it. And then injector control pressure too low. We know why. Because we're not getting enough high pressure oil buildup. Let's see. This is all transfer case two-wheel drive, solenoid circuit failure. That might be, I don't know if his four-wheel drive works. None of this was a concern of his at the moment. So there's my codes. That's everything that's been stored. So what we're going to do is clear the codes, which involves turning the truck off. Hopefully it'll start right back up if I do it fast enough. And then we're going to see what the boost looks like. Okay, so here's what I got pulled up. These are the turbo duty cycle, basically telling me where the vanes are. This is going to be boost pressure. What you're seeing right now, the 14, that's atmospheric pressure. So you got to subtract that. So right now we have 0 boost. Here's the current ICP, injector control pressure. There's what it wants, close enough, looking good, and the IPR. So I'm gonna sit here and we're in drive, and I'm just gonna give her a little boost, and look at the IPR. Straight to full gore. Because look, we're not matching. I mean, that's pretty close actually. Well, no, we're off by, yeah. So I don't think our problem's in the turbo. I mean, I'm at full throttle right now. It's not even trying. It's asking for 1400. We can only build 600. So our whole problem is in the high pressure fuel system. I mean, nothing. So first thing we're gonna do is where was I? First thing we're gonna do is you know what, I wonder, no, that's not gonna do it again, never mind. We're gonna do an air leak test on the high pressure oil system, see if we hear an air leak. My only concern with the 03 is the 03 or early 04s have a injection pump that is different than the rest, and these pumps do wear out. So that's a worry I have right now. Could be IPR. Where's my fingers? Could be the IPR valve, could be the pump, could be a big oil leak. So first thing we're going to do, see about the oil leak. Second thing, possible IPR. Third thing, we might be looking at a pump. And then before I give it back to him, we're going to do a relearn on this turbo, just to make sure it's right. But this isn't a turbo or boost problem. This is a oil pressure problem. Okay, so for the 03 style engines, the way I prefer to air test them is to remove the passenger valve cover. There's different ways to do it, but I can just tell you this is the difference between the later 04 and up, like I did on the maroon truck. And if I can figure out how, I'll post a link in this video of how I did it on that truck, so you can see the difference of an 03 to the newer style. But anyway, so we need to get all the air intake out of the way. We're going to move the degas bottle because the ICP sensor on this truck is down. Try to get light in there without getting in the way here. It's down back here behind the ficum. So anyway, the easiest way is just to remove all this stuff out of my way, pull the valve cover, and plug into the oil rail, and then I can use the computer to command the IPR closed. If you don't have a computer, you can use a pigtail for the IPR and just positive and negative. But we're going to close it. And the reason I do the passenger side is on these, it's too hard to hear a leak. If it's on this side, I mean, you're going to pull this side apart anyway to have to get to something to plug into air leak. But on this side, this would be easier to get into, but I can already hear an air leak under this, usually right through here. So anyway, just do it. This is the best way, I think. So I'm not going to video how to get this out, the air cleaner, the intake tube. The only thing that holds the degas is the two 8mm bolts there. Take this one off the radiator, hook it back into this side of the bottle. Then you can lean the bottle out of the way. Take this one, unhook it, stick it over here on this stud or that stud, and then we'll get down there and pull the fickum and everything. Alright, so intake's out. Coolant reservoir came out a little more than I wanted it to. Remember in the last video, or on the maroon truck video, I told you in these older trucks, these fittings like to break. And that it did. So we're gonna have to replace that. I also showed you in the other video, this is a little different setup where the fickum sits, but I showed you where the grommets were missing, so that computer just kind of was bouncing it. There you go, there's the grommets, the rubber insulators. That's actually from, what, Alliant Power? Yep, so it's got a new fickum from Alliant Power. Always check the wheel and the turbo, and this one, let's see if I can get it to show. It's got some play. I don't know if I can set the light up. I don't know. Let's see. Nope. Let's see here. This is more of a documentation for the owner. You can see the movement in that wheel. Watch down there at the fins, if it would focus really well. It's not touching down quite yet, but it also doesn't want to spin very well anymore. So probably not going to last too much longer. I'm not going to say you got to buy a new turbo right now, because you don't. But that one's getting some wear on it. Alright, so anyway, we're going to take these 13mm out of the front and back. Pull the fickum bracket. Pull the connectors, and then we can start pulling the all the bolts to get the valve cover off. That's a bad wear spot for these harnesses, and this one is wore through. I don't think I can get the camera in there. That sucker is worn. Got my hand in the way. Where is it? There it is. Yep, we're gonna have to fix that. Wrap her up with something. It's hard for me to hold the camera back here. I don't see any bare wires yet, but it was close. Look at that, the way it rides on the corner of that valve cover. That'll cause you some electrical nightmares. So, a few things we gotta fix up here. But let me get the rest of this off, get the valve cover off, and we'll do this air test. Okay, valve cover's off. Obviously, you can now see the difference in an 03 setup to the later 04s and up, 6 liters. The standpipe's actually back here below this guy. These are all snap to connect fittings. Not nearly a good a setup, but I pulled this plug out. Which is a 4mm Allen, and then I'm gonna put my special fitting in here, which this is a different fitting than the newer ones take. I'll put that guy in there. I'm gonna tighten it down more than by hand, but I forgot the wrench, so I'm gonna do that. We'll put shop air to it. Then I'm gonna get the laptop, close the IPR valve. Now, right here, let's see, these are the two leads going back to the IPR valve. It's back under here. Not easy to get to compared to the newer 6 liters, but that's what you would be doing if you got a pigtail harness. You'd have to plug it in down at the IPR valve and then run these 2 wires out, one to ground, one to power. That would close your valve so that you can see if we got a leak somewhere. I can do it with a computer, so that's how I'm gonna do it. So let me get everything hooked up here. All right, so I got the shop air plugged in. I got a rag wrapped around it just because there's a little bit of air escaping. But can you hear? Sorry, can you hear it? Right now it's dumping back to the crankcase because the IPR valve I have commanded open, which it is always commanded open. And now I switched it up again. I got the snap on. So let's close it. So you applying 12 volts to this would be equivalent of me closing it at 85%. %'s closed. Okay. So I hear something. I think that's still going to the crankcase a little. So the IPR valve might be weak, but this is what concerns me more. Let's see if I can pick this up. Can you hear the gurgling in that? I don't know if it's picking it up, but there's gurgling in the oil return tube from the turbo. What that means on these early 6 liters with the aluminum pump's bad. So just to be sure before I tell them that, let's stick a known good IPR valve in there and see what happens. But I'm pretty confident with the way the truck's acting. It just shouldn't. I can still hear it gurgling over there. It shouldn't gurgle. So yeah, I'll go ahead and stick an IPR valve in it just to be sure, but I'm willing to bet because that pump won't build enough pressure. When we were sitting there trying to build boost, I was holding the brake and giving it full throttle and it just wouldn't get up to speed. It's not building enough high pressure oil, and now that I got gurgling back there, it's not uncommon for these pumps to go bad. The 04, mid 04s and up with the cast iron pump, never see them go bad. These go bad. So let me get this shut down. Okay, so I just talked to the owner, Tim, and you know, I told you I could still hear a little bit of noise in the returning to the crankcase, besides the bubbling in the oil return tube. After I took the IPR and bumped it up another 5% or something, and that sound went away. So at this point, it's definitive that it's either the pump or an O-ring at the pump, or a snap connect fitting back in there. It's coming from that area. Usually when I hear it in that or that oil feed tube, return tube, sorry, it's usually the pump. But I wanted to make sure that Tim knew, you know, we gotta pull the turbo now. On 03s, I gotta pull the intake because in the back it has a crossover that goes over top that cover that they got rid of in 04 and up. I don't know, that was a bad design in 03. A lot of bad design in 03. But the rest of the truck, the motor looks fantastic. So we're gonna do it. So now it turns from diagnostic to repair. So I'm gonna end this video as part 1, and we'll go into part 2. And yeah, I'll show you guys how to do. I hope, for Tim's sake, I hope it's not a pump, but I hope we'll at least get there, and even if it's that O-ring, we'll wind up unbolting the pump. So stay tuned, and as always, please like and subscribe, and I appreciate it, guys.